Christmas Eve, 1945, in Fayetteville, West Virginia, was bitterly cold, and the Sodder family home stood glowing against the dark Appalachian hills. George and Jenny Sodder had 10 children, and that night 9 of them were inside the house, excited for the holiday morning. The laughter of children echoed through the wooden halls long after midnight. Around 12:30 a.m., the telephone rang, and Jenny answered to hear a strange woman asking for someone who did not live there, her voice unfamiliar and distant. In the background, Jenny heard laughter and glasses clinking before the line went dead. She felt uneasy but returned to bed shortly after. She heard a heavy thud on the roof, followed by a rolling sound as if something had struck the house and fallen away. She dismissed it as imagination. At 1 a.m., smoke began seeping through the rooms, thick and choking. Jenny woke George, screaming that the house was on fire. Flames climbed the walls unnaturally fast, devouring the wooden structure as if fed by something more than timber. George and Jenny managed to escape with 4 of their children, but 5 remained upstairs. Morris, Martha, Louis, Jenny, and Betty were trapped beyond the inferno. George tried desperately to reach them, but the staircase was engulfed in fire. He ran outside to retrieve the ladder he always kept against the house, but it was gone. He tried to start his coal trucks to reach the upper windows, but both engines failed mysteriously, though they had worked perfectly the day before. The flames roared like something alive. Neighbors watched helplessly as the house collapsed into embers before dawn. The fire department did not arrive until morning, long after the home had turned to ash when the ruins were searched. Officials claimed no remains of the 5 children were found, yet strangely concluded they had perished in the blaze. In the weeks before the fire, strange events had surrounded the Sodder family. A life insurance salesman had visited George and grown angry when George refused his offer. The man warned that Georgia's house would go up in smoke and his children would be destroyed. Another stranger had approached the family, pointing at the fuse box and saying it would cause a fire someday. Yet after the blaze, investigators declared the wiring intact. George began to question everything. Why was the ladder missing? Why did both trucks fail at the same time? Why had the telephone line been found cut, not burned? Witnesses came forward with chilling statements. One woman claimed she saw people throwing balls of fire at the house that night. Another said she saw the missing children looking out from a passing car while the house burned behind them. The official report ruled the cause as faulty wiring, but no bones were found in the ashes. And a crematorium owner later stated that even in intense fires, bones usually remain. George refused to accept the explanation. He believed his children had been taken, not killed. A bus driver reported seeing men loitering near the Sodder home before the fire. Another witness claimed the children were seen at a hotel weeks later. The more George searched, the more resistance he encountered. It felt as if someone wanted the truth buried beneath the ashes of that Christmas night. The Sodders erected a massive billboard along Route 16 bearing the faces of their 5 missing children. The sign asked one question in bold letters: what was their fate years past? Yet the billboard remained standing against wind and rain, a monument to unanswered questions. In 1949, George dug through the fire site himself and found small fragments of bone. When tested, they were declared unrelated to the children and possibly placed there. Rumors spread through Fayetteville like cold wind through hollow trees. Some whispered about organized crime, others about revenge for George's outspoken criticism of Benito Mussolini before the war. Then in 1968, Jenny received a photograph. In the mail, it showed a young man who resembled her son, Louis. On the back were the words, "I love brother Frankie, Illo boys, A90132 or 35. The postmark was from Kentucky, no return address, no explanation. George hired a private investigator who traveled to follow the lead. The investigator vanished and never contacted the family again. The photograph became both hope and torment. If it was Louis, he had survived, but if not, someone was playing. A cruel game with a grieving mother's heart. Asterisk, the Sodder house was rebuilt, but the silence inside it was different, heavier. Christmas was never the same again. Jenny wore black for the rest of her life, refusing to mourn fully without proof. She believed her children were alive somewhere. Growing older without her, George continued investigating until his health failed. He died in 1969, still searching. For answers, the billboard eventually came down years later, weathered and fading like the memories of that night. Yet the mystery refused to disappear. No bodies were ever conclusively identified. No arrests were made. No confession ever surfaced, too. This day, the disappearance of the Sodder children remains one of America's most chilling unsolved mysteries. Was it a tragic accident hidden by incompetence, or a calculated abduction masked by flames on cold December nights in Fayetteville? Some say the wind carries faint echoes of children's laughter drifting from the hills, a reminder that sometimes the fire ends, but the darkness it leaves behind never truly dies. But George Sodder stood staring at the ashes, knowing something felt terribly wrong.